Your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah, go and share your gift. Yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and fill your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Mentality Unchained. I'm your host, Kevin Thomas, the therapist. Today is a special day. My guest today has been very instrumental in my life since I've moved back to the city. Mr. Tommy Meeks. I can't say too much about him because he's just awesome, man. No,
okay,
but
that's the end of the show, right?
Right. Nah. But on a serious note, one of the things that I admire about Mr. Meeks was that he was involved in the community. And one of the things that I wanted to do was get into the community. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be present. And I heard about this fella that was going around the city talking about Juneteenth. And to be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about Juneteenth until probably I met him about 5 or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when I started to hear the stories that he talked about, the stuff, the wisdom that he had, I just knew I had to attach myself to him. And he's always been a great mentor, a great friend. So I want you guys to welcome to the episode today, Tommy Meeks. Tommy, thank you for showing up, man.
Thank you, Brother Kevin.
And I always like to call him Mr. Meeks because I'm trying to be respectful, right?
You call me Tommy, man.
So thank you for joining us on another episode of Mentality Unchained. One of the things, Mr. Meeks, is the show is really based on like mental health issues or just mental health in the community, and specifically in the Black community.
Right.
I like to bring awareness to the community as far as mental health literacy. Just try to educate them on what's going on. And I do believe that a lot of the things that has happened throughout our history, when I say our history, I'm talking about Black history, the people of color. Right. That's the history I'm talking about. And a lot of the trauma is built up through those lineage. And I like to kind of really hone in on some of those things. Right. And with you being knowledgeable as you are, I want to talk a little bit about Juneteenth as well. But as we get started, though, let's just tell the people who you are and tell them what you do. You can give them a little bit of backdrop because you're so versed in everything.
Well, I'll tell you this. Number one, thank you for inviting me. This is my second podcast, and it's been with Dr. Kevin Pokey. Kevin Pokey did the first one with me.
Okay.
And now, you guys keep bringing me in, and I appreciate it. But a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Rockford. Went to Eastern Illinois. I played football for Auburn High School. Football, basketball, and track. All-state in football and track. Went to college, played 4 years for Eastern Illinois. I was coached by Mike Shanahan, Denver Broncos former coach.
Oh, okay. In college you were coached by him?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
And I met a lot of good people in college. Met my first wife in college.
Okay.
And, wanted to come back home to make Rockford the place to expand.
Gotcha.
And, I worked for a while and had some issues, but I ended up getting a job with, tried to teach school for a while, had my degree to teach.
Okay.
They only wanted me to substitute teach because they only wanted young Black kids to see another Black face in the school.
Wow. And
I got tired of that after a while. So I latched on with FedEx. It gave me a lot of flexibility to move around, and then that's when and I tell you up front early, I had a drug problem. So my aunt and uncle, James and Maggie Wright, they were the grandparents of, I think, one of the biggest songwriters ever in Rockford, biggest in Rockford's history. Jimmy Wright, they were his grandparents, and they were my aunt and uncle.
Okay.
They took me to Arkansas. They told me about this thing called Juneteenth. I had never heard of it.
Gotcha.
And my aunt told me that my grandfather never let any of his 15 children work anywhere on June 19th.
Really?
And that stuck in my head. And now, mind you, I'll say it because I don't have a problem. I had a drug problem at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, I knew I had to get off those drugs. They were ruining me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put down drugs, and I mean I put them down, cocaine,
Mm-hmm.
Juneteenth just popped in my head. That was it. And I've been on the push. So I started Juneteenth in 1990.
Okay.
And I started my TV show with Comcast
Mm-hmm.
in April of 1990.
Wow.
So for like almost 32 years, I've been going pretty strong with both of them, except COVID slowed down the TV show.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's where I'm at. Now I'm retired pretty much. I work a couple of days a week doing mentoring for young African-American men in Freeport,
Okay.
juveniles and adults in Freeport, and in Rockford, Winnebago County.
Mm-hmm.
I just see adults. And it's all about Black history, teaching our young African-American men
Mm-hmm.
what our ancestors went through
Yeah.
for us to be here today. And I focus on that. I'll focus on that till I die, because we are descendants, in my mind, of some of the strongest human beings that ever lived on this earth.
Wow.
For us to be where we at now,
Mm-hmm.
and to have endured all of that slavery and all of that discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
and look at us, we still are here.
Yeah, I don't think it was expected for us to live as long as we live, right? But I will say this. One of the things that I learned about Juneteenth was that, Emancipation Proclamation 1863 was, Lincoln free, so-called free.
So-called free.
Right, and thus you have independence, 4th of July, whatever. But it wasn't until 2 years later
Right.
that we were really free.
Was at the end of the war. The war ended, I think, April the 10th.
Okay.
April the 10th, 1865.
Right.
And see, a lot. Juneteenth is particular because at the time, Galveston, Texas,
Right.
in Texas, the state, made it more important than probably the other states.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So you had people that learned about the end of the war in April on the East Coast.
Wow.
So those slaves definitely were free. The war was over.
Right.
But they didn't have TVs and radios, wasn't no play-by-play.
So you couldn't get the news out.
The news wasn't out there. So our ancestors always said, we're still working for the man. And then all of a sudden, General Gordon Granger came into Galveston, Texas.
Right.
General Order number 1, I think it is.
Okay.
And let those slaves know that they were free.
Wow.
And from that point on, they start celebrating. And that's what I think Juneteenth should be. It should be a celebration of people coming together of all ethnicities.
Yeah.
For the simple fact, it was just as many white soldiers lost their lives in that Civil War. Their bloodline stopped, just like some of our people did.
Right.
Some of those people maybe wasn't trying to save Juneteenth. Maybe they wanted to save the Union. But the bottom line is that benefited us. And when Lincoln brought in 65,000 soldiers, free black men and escaped slaves to fight in that war. And no telling where we'd be at today if those 65,000 African-American men hadn't joined the North and fought, because we were losing that war.
Yeah.
And I tell you, if we had lost that war, it ain't no telling where we'd be at today.
See, that's why I'm saying, that history, that rich history. I mean, you like living wisdom right here. A lot of times people don't tell those stories, and sometimes people don't even get to hear those stories. And I just think that it's so important that we teach that, and you do that. I mean, why did you gravitate to teaching and mentoring young men?
Because when I had my cocaine problem, I really wanted something to take my mind away from where my mind was at.
Yeah.
And history I was going to go to college and major in history, and I don't know why I just stopped.
Okay.
But I majored in physical education, but I should have stuck with history. It just fascinates me how our ancestors that we don't even know, but they had to exist for us to be sitting here.
That's true.
And that's the only reason I build on. I'm sitting here because they endured, they had fun, they had sex, they reprocreated, and we are extensions. Everybody here is an extension of an ancestor, of the people that came before us. So I say Juneteenth is something for all of us to show respect to the people that came before us.
Do you find it hard trying to get other races and ethnicities to kind of join in with Juneteenth? Because I know they just made it a federal holiday in 2021,
last
right?
year. I think Donald Trump. You believe that? Y'all believe that? Do you believe that? I thank Donald Trump for a simple fact.
Okay, why?
I say this. When I started promoting Juneteenth, I called a man, I think he was in Mississippi, Dr. Ronald Myers. He was pushing for Juneteenth to be a national holiday ever since he started his organization.
Okay.
He was the number one man. I heard him on satellite radio once. So I got his telephone number, and I called him up as soon as he got off the air.
Okay.
And me and him talked about it, and I would call him for, inspiration. But it was the kind of thing that our people had to know that the people that came before us had done so much. So when I started promoting it, I would call him, and he'd give me inspiration. And I started seeing that Juneteenth in history was something that could save our people.
Yeah.
If we knew the things that they went through for us to be here. And that kind of got me started.
I like that, but like you're working in the community now, and you see these young men, like the mindset though. Like I mean, it feels like we're programmed to think a certain thing, but I mean, how are you changing that? I mean,
well, I say this: they don't know that they don't know.
Okay,
that's why it's easy for them to do that. When you don't know, you don't know,
right?
And then when you start finding out, my program is 13 weeks. My mentoring program.
Okay.
I have like about 4 guys that have gone my 13 weeks. And then when they get their certificate from me, they right back in there that next week going for another 13 weeks. They want to learn more. Wow. And see, our people have to have to me, we have to have a burning desire to know who came before us. We may not know all of them because the record keeping wasn't that good.
Yeah.
But we have to know that they existed. And that's what I think is going to help our people, but it's going to help other ethnic groups too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my sponsors for Juneteenth are all white. They believe in what I'm doing, otherwise they wouldn't give me money to promote it for going on 32 years.
Yeah.
So I think Juneteenth is bigger than just freeing black people.
Right.
Juneteenth shows people that when you take that monkey off of somebody's back, you take that foot off of them and let them be really free people, they can do amazing things. Our people have done amazing things in this country that we weren't taught about in high school. My mother used to come to Juneteenth and had a whole list. Before she died, she'd have a whole list of accomplishments that black people had: air conditioners, washing machines, stoplights, blood. Dr. Drew with the blood plasma. I think
right.
All of those things. They didn't teach us that in school. At least they didn't teach me.
Me neither. No, me neither.
Either I wasn't paying attention.
It could be that. I did do that, but
there's so much history that's out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to help race relations instead of hurt race relations.
I love that because I feel the same way you do. I feel that we can bring other races in and be all inclusive because at the end of the day, they need to learn how to work with us. It's just as well that we need to learn how to work with them. And I understand that we like to say, and we have our little corner, but then teaching them, our history as well, because they don't really want
They don't know.
They don't know either. So if we don't know and they don't know, we're just all in bad shape, right?
Blind leading the blind.
So, and so I love the fact, though, that you've delved into the Juneteenth the way you've done. Everybody know you when it comes to Juneteenth. they know when Juneteenth come, they're going to get a flyer. They're going to hear something about Juneteenth. And the one reason why I wanted to do this episode early to talk about Juneteenth is because I think people need to start getting in the mindset of what Juneteenth means.
Right.
And it's just so significant. Like I said, the last 5 years, it's just really been eye-opening for me. So I know you have celebrated it, at least since I've been here. I've been back over 9-10 years now. Yes, and so, I've been doing trauma work. and a lot of trauma work in my practice. I start my dissertation next month, and it's going to be speaking to the epigenetic trauma, the generational trauma that we deal with. And you brought up some stuff about, how we were part of the Civil War, white people, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that we have put enough focus and emphasis on how that past, the war and the slavery, all that stuff has played on our mental.
In the years of discrimination as well. Yeah.
Jim Crow years as well.
Right.
So speak to like the mental health aspect of that, just dealing with that.
Well, I say this, the mental health part of it, a lot of our people would look at other people that had mental health problems and look at it. Like we didn't have none.
Right.
There's a lot of our people that think, well, ain't nothing wrong with that boy.
Right.
I was a father like that.
Really?
My son had ADHD, ADD, whatever, all the D's and A's you want to put with it. The boy was hard-headed. But they wanted to put him on medication. I said, not my son, because I had been a drug addict.
Right.
And I didn't want him to be a drug addict like me.
Okay.
He came to me once, I think he was like in 7th grade. And my kids called me by my first name. That's why I said, you can too. He said, Tommy, I said, what? He said, I think I need that medicine because I can't concentrate in school. Whatever the teacher say to me just go over my head. And I think I need that medicine. So I broke my policy and let him get the medicine. Well, they over-medicated him.
Okay.
They gave him too much, whoever the doctor was. And my son went back to the place that was taking care of him, and they put him in the hospital. And this doctor came in and took him off all his psych meds.
Wow.
All at once, cold turkeyed him. He'd been taking that stuff for months. That's against policy. And I know it was.
Okay.
But the lawyer I talked to said, well, I don't think you're going to have a lawsuit. Well, anyway, my son, he started having these grand mal seizures when they took all this stuff off of him. And he had 6 grand mal seizures, and he had 4 grand mal seizures in 6 days. And he just said he didn't want to live like that anymore. So he called up some of his buddies out there in Loves Park, McChesney Park. Unbeknownst to me, he was plotting and planning to use drugs again. He hadn't used in over a year. And he used drugs that one night, and he was gone.
Wow.
And, I guess he used drugs at a certain level. I guess he thought he could go back to that same level. And I say that because my son had a mental health problem. And he felt drugs was his solution. Illegal drugs was his solution.
Right.
And how many more people out in our community, white, black, Hispanic, that have mental health issues that are not addressed, and they think that illegal drugs is the answer to their problem, you know? And especially in the African American community, we don't like to talk about mental illness. And it's in our families big time.
Yeah.
I got a cousin that's going through it right now. She'll call me, telling me she's hearing voices next door. They taking pictures of her. They're accusing her of everything. I said, come on. But it's in her head.
Yeah.
Now I convinced her to go to Rosecrans. She's seeing a counselor. They got on medication, and she's doing a lot better.
Right.
You know.
I think we have this idea that if we I can't say it's probably warranted. We have this fear of being looked at a certain way, shamed, or I know me growing up with my grandparents, you couldn't tell white people something because you felt that they would use it against you. And so a lot of people don't get the help that they need. I know personally in my office, I see a lot of people that are not educated when it comes to mental health.
Right.
And I think that's a huge downfall. And that's why I vowed to undertake that, is try to put literacy back into the community and let them know that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to have someone to talk to. And so the more we can do that, the more successful we can be as a community. But we need leaders to speak out like you are.
Well, we need people like you too.
Well,
because at Juneteenth this year, I'm doing something, and I like for people to look this up. Don't take my word for it. It's called Chautauqua.
I looked that up too.
You looked it up?
I did look that up.
And it amazed me when I first heard about it from a deceased reporter named Chuck Sweeney here. Me and him we were talking about doing something like that. Then he passed away a little bit after that. But a Chautauqua could give you on the mental health side, give you a chance, or maybe some comrades that you work with, to talk to people about the ups and the downs and the things that have to be done to try to get on top of this mental illness that's in our community. So I hope at Juneteenth you could play a part.
Well, I'm always willing to help you and do whatever it is you want to do, because I know where your heart's at. I know, what you're trying to do. I will say this too, is like, I try to do as much as I can to be visible as a young black man, and then also as a therapist. So I try not to say black therapist, but it's very few of us.
I know.
Especially males.
Right.
And so I make sure I preference that, because I want people to know that it's very few of us that does this as men, black men. I want to push other black men to get into this field because it's rewarding. Yeah. Now, it is sad, and it's just the truth. The art of therapy and the literature and the books that have been written through the years have been by older white men. But I think we have to do our part and starting to carve our own lane out and putting literature out that affects us, because everybody's affected differently. Yeah. The things that a Caucasian may deal with and we deal with is different.
It's different.
We just deal with things differently. The poverty, the things that we deal with in our communities can cause a lot of those mental illnesses. Poverty, just not having things, not knowing how to handle things, parents working 2 and 3 jobs, and you got your son or daughter at home alone trying to figure this out. So it's a lot of things that can affect us. But I think you said something when you said your son said he needed the medicine. You was like, I'm against it,
right? Right.
And that's how we are, though. We are against it because
I was definitely against it.
Right, but you had a reason you was against it, though.
Yeah, I didn't want him to be like me.
Right,
but he was like me. I mean, I never used heroin. I was cocaine, and I ain't proud of it. But when you're a young man, you playing college football, you get in, you start playing semi-pro football, people snorting cocaine. In the late 70s, early 80s, they weren't even locking people up for it hardly, to be honest, till the drug war started.
Right.
And I got caught up in it. I didn't want my son. 6 years after that, my daughter died from it. She was bipolar. She was taking the medicine, and when she didn't take it properly, she went to the other stuff that she thought could help her. So I've lost 2 children to drugs. And some people might be watching and say, well, what do you expect? You was a drug addict. They could say that because I was. Okay. But when they got involved with drugs, I was long gone from that. And I used to tell my kids who I was and the way I went through that problem. And I think they looked at me when I turned my life around and said, well, maybe we can do this and then we'll turn our life around. They didn't get a chance to. My other 5 children are doing really well. I mean, I'm proud of the other 5. My son's a manager, supervisor at Amazon at the airport. Okay. My other daughter packed her whole family of all 6 kids and moved to California. Okay. Out of all the states. Now, she was on Abbott Elementary, a TV show. I don't know if you guys watched that. She was on Abbott Elementary a couple of weeks ago. Okay. She was the deaconess at the end of the show. You have to see the show to understand who she was. But and then my other daughter's an alderman. Yeah. And my 4th daughter is she is going to have her PhD, going to be a nurse practitioner in December. Okay. And then the last one got attacked here in Rockford, up on West State Street, that Waylow gas station. And I never will forget that. She got attacked. A guy was trying to take her wallet from her. She fought that man. And you should see all these people standing there just looking at it. And the camera went national with it. Made headline news. It made it all over the country, showing this guy trying to take my daughter's purse from her inside the store. Wow. And nobody helped. She sustained back damage, knee damage. So she's doing the best she can raising her 2 kids. Yeah. And she's still a good one. You know.
So you had 2 kids that passed away from mental illness and drugs.
Drugs, right?
So it's a comorbid issue right there. You got mental health and substance abuse together, right? How are you able to be so strong?
I got a great wife. I can say that.
Okay.
And I learned a while back. You know, I'm not a big church goer.
Okay.
I really don't attend church like I probably should. But I really believe in the Spirit of God.
Okay.
I asked God to help me get off my drug addiction, and He helped me. Gotcha. I felt He helped me.
Okay.
Because I was convinced that when I asked Him for that help, I ended up stopping the cocaine.
Really?
So I really believe that what's keeping me now is that God wants me to be a person that goes on with life, even though I hurt, man.
Yeah.
I got a picture of my son and my daughter in my car. I see them every morning in my car. Wow. I get to my office. I got a picture of them in my office downtown. And we got pictures of them on the stove in the dining room. I see them every day. Wow. I love them every day.
Wow.
And it just, you know, death just hurts us. But it's going to happen to all of us.
It is.
And see, that's another thing we need to really look at. How can we help people now while we got time to help people?
That was my question to you. I was going to ask you that too. I was going to ask you, what do you think, though? What do you think is going to take for us to help our people understand? You know,
I run a program called the Wake Up Group.
Okay.
We have to wake up as people. History can help you wake up. That's why I do Juneteenth. But the key thing about our people, our mind is focused on like 1619 when supposedly the first slaves came here. Right. But look, you got to do some real research. Man, people been here way before 1619, right. And they was black folks. I'm telling you, they call them Indians, but they was black. Yeah. I'm telling you, we need to do more history research on the existence of our people. We scattered the whole world. You see melanated people all over the world. How they get in China? How they get in Russia? How they get in Mexico? They traveled the world and they reprocreated all over the world. That's us. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, because I like that because that shows that we can travel the world and get along with anybody.
How you develop that mentality? Because we got people of color always saying, well, and this is just a phrase that they use. We don't want the white folks. The white folks this. The white folks that. Yeah. They actually help you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff that I do, my white friends help me. I got a lot of white friends. Yeah, and all my children have married white people or have had biracial relationships with other white people. Yeah. Nothing against their own black people. Right. My mother taught me a long time ago, and I think this is good advice. Whoever you fall in love with, that's who you should marry. Okay. And that's who my kids married. Okay. Now, interracial things have been going on in this world forever, and people try to pretend like it's something that really don't happen, but it does. God created us different, so we learn to live and love one another as human beings. I agree, and that's where I left that at.
I totally get that. One of the things I wanted to ask you, I said that, once I get a chance to talk to you, I wanted to ask you about, do you feel that our communities have a direction? Do you, as we
you mean Rockford or just
let's just speak in terms of our region, Rockford. Okay. Yeah. Do you feel that our communities have a direction?
There's people that want to put us on the direction. There's entities that get started to say they want to put us on the direction, like Transform Rockford, for example. Okay. They say 2025, we're going to be a top 25 city. Okay. It's 2022 now. It sure is. Transform Rockford been around here a good while, at least 2015, I think. Right. And I don't know if they're going to cram everything in the last 3 years, but we have a chance to make Rockford the type of place other people could envy if we take advantage of understanding each other. You know, opening up doors. I got a couple companies right now that I'm working with. All they want to do is help people like that I work with. In my mentoring group, all African American males, all of them are on probation. I got companies want to give these guys job opportunities to help them get back on. I just left a lunch with a guy that works for a big company here.
Right.
That's all they want to do is try to help people with second chances. I work with the state's attorney's office.
Okay.
It's a deferred prosecution. Anytime you've been arrested for the first time and it's not a violent crime, you can go through a program and it'll disappear. These are the kind of things that could uplift our community so when people make mistakes, they get that second chance. Other people that went to prison, they can come home and get that second chance to take care of their family.
Yeah.
So I think if Rockford could be this local city that really offers opportunity for other people, we could be like the type of place that people would refer to. We should be like Rockford because we got a lot of potential here that we're not using. And that's what I want. I want us to reach our potential as human beings. That's why I work with those guys that I mentored to.
I'm gonna hit on this and just slightly. It has a lot to do with what you're saying, but I'm not gonna stay here long. But I want to really hit on this. One of the things that I've noticed in every city, every state I've ever been to, that there is either a physical or an imaginary railroad track. And when I speak on that term, I'm speaking from when you cross the track, you know what side of town you on.
Amen.
And things start to change. Why is it that we're not transitioning a lot of that power or prevalence or prestige over to the west side of Rockford? Because right now they're building stuff all on the east side. Yeah. And when I say building, I mean they're building 5 or 6 buildings in one parking lot, and then you got 20 acres of land on the west side that's sitting vacant. Yeah. So what's that about?
Well, I tell you, it's because our mentality as African American people, we think they should be over here building on our side of town. Ooh. Instead of us being over.
I like that. Yeah.
Building on our side of town.
Right.
Now, I came up with this idea, and I'm gonna spring it on you today. Because if this podcast
you're gonna spring it on me.
If it goes viral, I'm gonna need some help.
You're gonna need some help. Okay, we got to be careful to see what this on it. Go ahead.
You can edit it out.
No, we ain't going to edit it out.
But I came up with this idea. I call it a 10-10-10 plan.
Okay.
I take 1,000 of my dollars. I put them in my name and just say Rock Valley Credit Union because they really said they would do this for me.
Okay.
I put my $1,000 in there. And then I go get 9 more people to do the same thing. They got money. If you're working anywhere, you got money.
Okay.
You got it in a 401k somewhere. You know, even if you got to borrow and put it in your own name. Now that's 10 people.
Okay.
But my 10 people got to go out and do the same thing that I just did.
Yeah.
They find their 10 people. They're in their families. They're working at the hospitals. They're working for construction. They're working at Gunite, Chrysler. Just $1,000. Put it in your name. Now that's 100 people. You know we have 100 people that run our country. The senators.
Yeah.
There's 100 of them.
That's
right.
They
lay out policy for all
everything. Yep.
Everything. House of Representatives can't spend a nickel.
Nope.
Until the Senate say okay and the president signs it.
Right.
So those top people, those top 100 people to me would be like I call the Senate in a sense. Or the deciders like George Bush.
Right.
But then before we do anything, we send those 100 people out to get their 10 people because they know people I don't know. Now we got 1,000 people. Somebody says, that's too many people. But we got $1 million. And with that $1 million, we could say, as a group of African people on the west side of Rockford, this is what we need here. And it costs $300,000. So everybody releases. You vote on it first.
Yeah.
Majority rules, 501 for, 499 against. But if you're in it, you still got to release your money. Right. So if it's $300,000 needed, everybody release $300. That don't hurt me that bad. That don't hurt you that bad. But that gives us united power to do the things we need to do. And that 1 million could turn into 10 million. You know why? African American people spend money.
Yep.
All over the United States. We just don't spend it on ourselves. So we need to start, nothing against other ethnic groups, because all other ethnic groups do what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
They all pool their resources together. Not everyone, but they know how to put it together to make their communities better and then create jobs for the young people. That's what I think we could do with my 10-10-10 plan, is we could start small, create jobs for people, put people to work, have things in our community so our kids can start enjoying life.
Yeah.
When I grew up on that west side, we used to go to the park and play all day long. You don't even see kids in the park no more.
No way.
But with this kind of money, we could hire security people to be down at the park to watch our kids. Now, those guys making money, and our kids are safe.
Now, I can really get with something like that. But I'm gonna push back because I want you to kind of expound a little bit more, because I think people we have this idea. Now, we just talked about Emancipation Proclamation. We talked about Juneteenth.
Right.
So it's been about, let's see, do the math, about 156 years, right, of having this mindset of slavery.
Right.
And then to the trauma of it, the trauma of not having, the trauma of when you get, you keep and you hold close to you.
That's our mentality.
And now you got someone like you come in and say, okay, I got the wisdom to get us out of this if we can all come together.
Yeah.
We're not in that mindset to do that, though, because we've been traumatized so much to think that you need to hold on to this.
But my thing is, how long is our trauma going to last?
There you go. That's why, right.
And see, it's 2022. Our community is going down the tubes. We got to figure out something to compete with the other ethnic groups.
I agree.
I mean, we have a lot of potential, but we keep expecting Mr. Charlie to fix everything for us. And Mr. Charlie, he ain't thinking about us. Mr. Charlie thinking about his own kids, his own neighborhood, and rightfully so. And if we don't think about our own kids, now I ain't gonna lie, I don't live on the west side no more, but I do a lot of things to help people that do live on the west side.
Right. And I think too, I think that's great to say, hey, I don't live over there no more, but I still go and give back to that. And I think you don't necessarily have to still live there.
You don't.
But you know where you come from, and you give back where you come from.
That's exactly
I truly believe that, because I don't live there either. So I go in and try to give back. But how hard has it been to sell that?
To sell the 10-10-10 plan? Oh, man. My brother dogged me out just the other night. I'm mad at him still. But see, we don't believe. See, you heard of Kwanzaa, right?
Yep.
One principle in Kwanzaa is called Ujima. I think it's Ujima. And that means unity in the community, us coming together. If we don't see that, we have to have skin in the game to get things we want. We go to other ethnic groups and say, I think we should have this, I think we should have that, and they just look at us and say, okay, but we never get it. But if we say, I think we should have this, and we're going to put our money behind it, that makes us know we will have it.
Yeah.
There's so many things we could offer our kids on this west side of Rockford, and then pay security to make sure that the good kids have fun and the rotten kids go to juvenile until they decide they want to act like decent kids again. I can't play along with this thing that, we've been brutalized with slavery. I ain't been no slave. But my mind takes me back to when my ancestors were slaves.
Yeah.
And all they wanted for us was to live in peace and harmony with our family members and with other people. And we're not doing that. When a kid can't go to the mall and get in an argument with somebody, and when he walk outside the mall, that whoever he argued with got to shoot him dead, that's reality.
Yeah.
And that boy is still dead.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And as the person you are working in the industry you're working in, it's got to be some mental illness in there where a person thinks that he can do that. I don't care how tough and bad he is. That is sick to shoot somebody because you got in a verbal argument with him. And so I think a lot of that mental illness is hurting us. But I think things like the 10-10-10 plan can help our people have some things in our area, gas stations, restaurants, things like that used to be there when I moved there. All that stuff was up and down West State Street. Yeah. They had 3 major grocery stores on West State Street between Avon and Johnson Street. Yeah. 3 of them. We don't have nothing like that now.
No, I remember the record store Ubiquities.
Yeah.
And I used to love as a kid going in that record store and looking, but that no more. But one of the things that I feel like our communities are plagued by social media. And I use social media for the podcast because this is the way to get the word out. Right. But I think there's a misuse of social media, and I think it's a huge wall up for us, and I think it causes the struggle with literacy because we can't understand or fathom doing a 10-10-10 plan, but we can go spend $100 on shoes, $200 on an outfit, and then we can get on social media and flash a whole bunch of money and so that's the thing now.
That's our mentality.
Exactly. So that wall, how do we break that wall down?
That wall will break down when the people that have that wall up know that wall has come. Just like the Berlin Wall over there. Yeah. Just like that when Reagan said, Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Right.
When our people start really noticing that our potential is so vast, so great, they're going to tear down these things that's getting in the way, our education. You know, you tell the people, y'all can't read, we're going to lock you up if you teach them to read. Now our kids running from school so they don't have to read. Yeah. You know, that's crazy based on what our ancestors went through. So I think when people learn more history, especially our people, we'll be able to come together and say, look, that $1,000 you're talking about, I got my name, it's in my account. I'm not going to release it until we have the vote. And if we win, that's good. And if I lose the vote, you still got my money. That's the kind of dedication we're going to have. Because we could build so many things and put things in our own community to help our kids not want to kill each other. Yeah. To know that if a bad kid is over there, let him stay over there. Yeah. We got juvenile places, we got jails for them. But don't penalize all the kids because one knucklehead shot a gun. Yeah. And you know that's what we do. We do. We shut it down for everybody else. Yep. And then what we do, I'll say this, and I know we run short on time, but when I first started doing my TV show years ago, 32 years ago, my cousin got murdered. He got in a fist fight with a guy. He beat the boy up good. Went home, thought everything was over. And the people kept egging him on. You ain't gonna let him do you like. He marches down to my brother's house, my cousin's house, and he think they're gonna have another fight. He ready to go out, and as soon as he get outside, that boy pulled a gun out on him and shot him dead right in front of his mama in their front door. So I had his mother on my TV show. And then when I used to teach school, I had this boy that, a little young kid named Demetrius Reynolds. Good-looking young man. Had a big party at his brother's house or something, a parents' house maybe. Stepped on somebody's foot, got in an argument, take it outside, and the man that got his foot stepped on, my shoes, shot and killed Demetrius. That was the start of a lot of this black-on-black killing that I saw 30-some years ago. And I had both of them women on my TV show. And I'm going to tell you, losing 2 kids myself, I can only imagine. My kids did what they did, in a sense, to themselves. Yeah. Nobody forced them to do that. They did. But these 2 kids were murdered by somebody. And it's that type of mentality that's in our community. A lot of it goes back to slave times, how we were envious of each other, jealous of each other, hateful of each other. Why? Because they wanted to keep us like that. Because they knew if them brothers is unified and them sisters is unified, how is we going to control them? Yeah. And they have controlled our minds for a very long time. We had to take our own minds back and control ourselves. We can do it. Yeah. I'm convinced.
You know what? That's my daily prayer that we do stuff. We can do that. Yeah. I remember when I was young, I fought this young man every day of the week, every single day of the week, and we didn't think about we didn't think about no gun, no knives. Yeah. And do you know I seen that fella a month ago, and we shook hands. Yeah, like we had been friends, but but that's how it was back then.
Well, let me tell you about my tormentor. My tormentor, I won't say his name, but I'll say his initials.
Okay.
R8. He know who he is. He used to threaten me every day, and I tried to avoid the fight. So we at Henrietta Park one day, and we see about 15 boys coming from the west end of Rockford. I said, oh, no. Here come R8.
Okay.
And he coming straight for me. And I said, I can't run. I'm not going to run. I'm going to fight this boy today. Man, I'm fighting him. I'm telling myself, I'm getting him. And then all of a sudden, I get a little tired. And he's a veteran fighter.
Yeah.
He flipped me over and worked me over good. And so it was like a draw.
Yeah.
I got him the first half. He got me the second half. That joker never mess with me again.
See?
You know, it's just our self-hatred is what's killing us now.
That's why I say that when we speak of mental illness, we have the symptoms are different for us.
Yeah.
They're so different, and I think that what we don't highlight enough is that some of us are searching for power and control.
Yeah,
and it takes a real I don't like to use these terms, but twisted mind to pull a trigger. I've been in the Army, I know what it's like to pull a trigger.
I've never shot a real gun in my life.
I know what it's like to pull the trigger, but to pull a trigger point blank and take another person's life, you got to know that person, you're not there. You're not in your right mind to do that.
I agree, but I'll say this: what the big part of it is, I think, is that we have so many guns, we have so much access to weapons.
Gun. Yep.
And what happens is, you just say this guy over here, his name is Joe. Joe's scared to go down the street because Willie might have a gun, and Willie already threatened him once. So Joe said, I can't go down the street till I got my gun. Right. Then when I see Willie, I'm going to let Willie know that he can't shoot me. Yeah. And what happens, you got a lot of people walking around with guns. Illegal they are, but they doing it because they scared of the next guy. They tell me that.
Really?
Now, I'm scared of the next guy too. Yeah. But I ain't got no gun. Right. So if that next guy want to shoot me, I'm dead. Gotcha. I just want an environment that we're not trying to kill each other. Yeah. Love is the most important thing we had to offer one another, and we're not doing very good at that.
I don't think that you can do or be angry enough to take another person's life. Now, I say that in the same vein as a protector, too, of my family. Right. I believe I will be able to do that. But aside from that, I don't think that we have the capacity to understand the ramification for pulling the trigger point blank and taking another person's life.
Let me say this to you. I went to court one day. My daughter was in court before she passed. And my wife pointed out this white boy that had picked my son up, him and his brother, the night that my son never came home. My wife said that night, he's not coming home. We were so upset. So I didn't know who this guy was, and I saw him in court. And he looked at me and turned his head away. My wife said, that's him. And all I did was him. I said, come here. Because, all the judges knew me. Yeah. He knew me because the judges would say, how you doing, Mr. Meeks, in open court. Right. So he knew I was somebody. He didn't know just who I was. Right. He came right at that direction. He came, and he set me outside. I got him out in that hallway. I said, you was the last person to see my son alive. Tell me what happened. And he started crying. He told me everything that happened. He told me the truth. There's some things that happened with my own family members that did not help my son when they could have. He told me that. That hurt me. I don't argue with them. I don't say nothing. But they know. They know. See, it's that type of behavior. Your own family member, you turn them away when they come to you for help. Yeah. And we do that to each other.
I blame the people that are around us, family, friends that see us struggle, see us go through our hardships. I blame them just as much as I blame the person that does whatever they do. Because if you see someone struggling the way you do, what they do, you can say something. You can try to help. Now, I do know sometimes people don't want to help, but to sit idly by and see them in the state that they're in and say absolutely nothing. Yeah. I think that's a huge problem.
Well, apathy. I wrote a paper on that in college. There's a lot of apathy going on in this world today. That's why people they don't want to get involved, because they scared. When you can go somewhere and step on somebody's foot or say something to somebody that they don't like, for these people to think that they could just kill you for that, that's just, it's just too much. It's too much.
Well, Mr. Meeks, you and I can talk about this stuff forever, right? But, as we get ready to get up out of here, I usually at the end of the show always ask for advice from the guests. Okay. If you could give advice to one young man, one young lady, or even just a family, whoever, what kind of advice would you be giving them right now?
Study your history. With YouTube out there, with technology the way it is, there's nothing hidden from us anymore. The truth is coming out. You got so many people that have been passing as white, that's black. There's proof, documentation, they had black grandparents and all that. All I'm saying is, there's so much information out there now, is get that information, try to learn, and more importantly, show respect to your fellow human beings. That's how we eliminate a lot of this stuff, just by showing some just basic respect to another person. And that's going to help us. But most importantly, all people need to learn what Juneteenth did.
Gotcha.
Juneteenth set free legally a people that have been held bondage in this great country for, at that time, 246 years.
Right.
Then they give us almost another 100 years of total discrimination.
Yeah.
People need to know all of that. White, black, Hispanics.
Yeah.
All of them. Study your history and know the truth.
Yeah.
And like they say, the truth shall set you free.
I like that. I appreciate that. I think if we all just, really start to focus on history as a whole, not omitting anything. Make sure that if you're going to teach one thing about history, teach it all. Don't. I mean, it's some of it is a disgrace.
Yeah,
it is. But at the same time, let us be the judge of that. Let us deal with that. Let us sit there and process all of those feelings and emotions. But we got the history there. So, I don't want us to just be selective and what my wife like to call cherry pickers. Pick what we teach, do this. Like you said, I wasn't taught black history in high school. I had American history, had government, but black history, I didn't have that.
Well, if I could drop just a couple of names. Shock Matthews on YouTube. He has a doctor on there named Clyde Winters with him a lot. I say go to YouTube and look up subjects, and then those subjects will pop up if it's critical race theory. Pull it up, see the discussions, and then make your judgment.
Absolutely.
I try to learn as much as I can from other people, and I try to listen to them talk their philosophy, and that's it. Philosophy is something that's very important. They don't even know how to teach it in school no more.
Yeah.
But how you think is so important to how you're going to live. And I think that'll help a lot of people.
Mr. Meeks, I thank you for coming through, man. I thank you for sitting down with me. I don't usually give my advice at the end because I talk enough. But one of the things that I've learned is that people are our greatest resources. And one of my fellow friends, I'm going to give a shout out to Matt Simpson. He always talk about people capital. He talks about the capital of people. And I like that because if we invest in each other, then there's nothing that can stop us from achieving whatever we want to achieve. Yeah. And so I think that we need to really start to come together. And I think you've set that precedence today about talking about unity, coming together, how it works together. And then I hope a lot of people see this and reach out to want to get involved in that 10-10-10.
Well,
and
I'm gonna have it at Juneteenth this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna have a little special area set up for people that want to know more about it.
Okay.
And that's it. And see, Matt, I used to coach Matt in high school. I don't know if he told you that.
I know that.
And I never forget. And then I know we got to go. But Matt came down one day. He had to study for a test, or he had to practice football.
Uh-huh.
I said, "Your teacher gonna help you study?" Yeah. I said, "Well, get up there. I don't need you out here." And the coaches looked at me. "You got these guys?" I said, "It's more important for them to be studying than playing out here on this football field. Because if they ineligible, they ain't gonna do me no good anyway." Right. I had one kid ineligible for one game that year.
Wow.
When I would let them miss practice and go to the teacher that was willing to teach them. These are the kind of things that we can do to help people.
Well, again, man, I thank you, man. I told you got a wealth of wisdom. Before we go, I would definitely like to make an announcement that May 7th, we're going to be having a mental health forum. We're going to have a few presentations. We're going to also have a panel discussion. But most importantly, we're going to have a meet and greet where people that believe that there's somebody in the community can come out and mingle with one another, networking. And one of the things that I titled it Bridging the Gap, because I think there is a huge gap between people and resources here in Rockford. And so I want to start to bring people together to bridge that gap, to start helping other people. Because if you know something, somebody else don't know it. Yeah. So you need to be teaching it, giving it, however you need to give it to them. So I want everybody to come out May 7th at the Norloff Center here in Rockford at 118 North Main Street in Rockford. It's going to start at 10 a.m. And so I would like for you guys to please come out and show up, and show up in big numbers too. And make sure you tell a friend, invite them out, and you'll get some good information, resources as well. Because I got therapists on the panel. I have ownership on the panel, founders. And then just regular people on the panel. Mm-hmm. And so, Mr. Meeks, I'm asking that you come out, be a part of this meet and greet, because a lot of people will learn a lot from you and bring you some business cards.
Well, I sure have them.
So
I appreciate it, Kevin.
Like honestly, I always say, before we get out of here, I always say that we all have the ability to change our circumstances only if we focus on what we can change. Yeah. So I just want to thank you guys again for joining me for another episode of Mentality Unchained. Thank you.